Thanks for rolling. Cubs Live, presented by Toyota. We continue to click away. Cubs entering this evening 3 games off the pace of those Milwaukee Brewers. Shota Imanaga, he knows that there is a job to be done. Getting nice, stretched, loose, lathered up because he is ready to cause damage versus those Cincinnati Reds. We'll find out how it all shakes out in just a little bit. But in the meantime, let's go with our Northwestern Medicine Heart of the Lineup, presented by Northwestern Medicine, leading the way to better medicine. And how about this? Highest whiff rate on specific pitches. That knuckle curve, ooh-wee, 43.7%. Ben Brown has him scratching their head walking back to the dugout, and he is the only right-handed pitcher on this list. Framber, Jesus, Christopher, and Tarek all dirty in their own right, but Ben Brown certainly starting to come into his own. It's all about pitching with confidence, and right now he has a confident interview with Elise Menaker.
Ben, all right, take us through yesterday, just what it was like getting that call and needing to get up and get ready.
Yeah, definitely wasn't, warming up in the first inning to potentially pitch the third, but, when your name's called, you got to be ready to do the job, and grateful that I've had some, good bullpen routine and stuff to do over the last 2 years that I wasn't really caught completely off guard, and it was an opportunity for me to help pick up the team and pick up the guys. I'm just grateful I was able to, do my part.
How does the experience help in a moment like that, where maybe you don't even expect it to come through in a time like that, but you can kind of channel that?
Yeah, last year from a role standpoint was really eye-opening for me. I got to kind of take little tidbits from a lot of my teammates, as you guys know, and it kind of made yesterday a lot more normal. And I think just what this year has shown me is I can kind of be ready for anything. Obviously, the success hasn't been where I want it to be, but the effort has been there and the adversity has been there. It's just kind of battle tested me to be able to go into different roles or positions.
How important was an outing like that for you then yesterday?
Yeah, it was super cool. But just got to stay steady, and that's not where my confidence is coming from, and just got to keep on keeping on. So. Well,
what I'm hearing in there, though, is maybe you're finding mentally some other things to think about than just the results, to stay steady.
Yeah, there's been a lot of really awesome work done on that side of the game this year, and it's really giving me an opportunity to go out there with a fresh start every single outing, and that's really what I need the most right now. It's what the team needs from me. So.
Sometimes in those moments, because it comes up so fast, you can't think, right? Yeah. Like, was that almost a benefit, or how did you see all of that?
And no thinking is a bonus for me, so I'll take that whenever I can get it.
Okay, perfect. I was also noticing the breath work that you do on the mound. Now, I know it's very common for pitchers, but just for you, is that something in particular that you've been working on?
Yeah, I think I'm usually working a little bit faster than I should, and just slowing the game down, slowing my breaths down. Knowing that I can self-regulate, it's not just I do have control over that. I might not have control over my outcome, but I can calm myself down as possible. So,
when was that something that you realized that maybe you could work on?
After some of the first swing struggles this year, where I was just getting too pumped up for the first, struggling in the first, and then settling down in the second, and not really having ownership over that. And, obviously there's been some skewed results since then, but I really like the spot that I'm in that side of the ball.
Yeah. On that note, because it reminds me too, when you would say, you would sometimes wait for a moment in the game that, locked you in. Yeah. It sounds like you're finding times where you can just take control from the start.
100%. And that was our focus. And that was the argument. That was kind of what I brought to the table, was waiting for something good to happen rather than taking ownership. And I think we've just seen, even, some of the games have been a little rough, but there's just been a different kind of ownership of that.
Look forward to the rest. Ben, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
And they're still waiting on those results to know the timeline severity for this injury. What I can tell you, it was in the second inning yesterday. Sroka said he tried to put a little extra on a fastball. Something grabbed him, and then he told the coaches about it, and that is why they took him out of the game. So Sroka, he is hoping that this is something that can be taken care of very quickly. But of course, there is also concern because it is his right shoulder. He does have injury history. We know about that drop in velocity. He said he had an MRI done before the deadline for the peace of mind. He did keep pitching after that. And so, there is frustration. He also said it was embarrassing. He says you get to a new organization, you want to hit the ground running 2 innings in, and then you pull the plug. So Jed Hoyer did speak before the game, and he said, hey, look, with the market and the asking price, we felt like this was a good bet. Now it's not looking like a good bet, but hopefully it is not the last we see of Sroka.
So Michael Sroka on the IL here tonight. It is Shota Imanaga making start number 16, and this lefty with him on the mound, the Cubs are 33-11. There's been comfort when Shota takes the hill, you know?
Yeah, and when starting after a team loss, the Cubs are 20-2 with Shota on the mound. That's the definition of a stopper right there. Doesn't walk people, a very low walk rate. He, like Littell, has problems with the home run ball, so that certainly is in play here this evening. This will be just his second ever start against the Reds. He's not faced them once this year. He saw him last June in Cincinnati, put up good numbers, 6 2/3, allowed just 2 runs.
Especially like we talked about earlier when you look at guys like PCA who are being aggressive inside the strike zone.
Ambush.
See no offense before and after the All-Star break here, before the All-Star break, after the All-Star break. Ooh, you don't like those numbers in the
What do
yellow.
they say in Iowa when you see numbers like that in yellow?
I don't know.
Woofta. That's what you always say. I know you're a local Iowan. So, yeah, Craig right now, lips pursed, arms folded, hoping to see an about face offensively. In just a little bit, we'll see what the evening holds in store. As for Shota Imanaga going out there and looking to play the role of tourniquet and stop that bleeding, what needs to be done to keep those Cincinnati Reds out front and off balance?
We talked about it last time, him having those 8 Ks, but really what it is keeping the ball in the ballpark. You talked about it. He had those
Wind's blowing in.
Yes, he had those 2 homers that he gave up in the 5 innings, but you take a look. He's thrown 83 innings this year and given up 16 home runs. So he has to keep the ball in the ballpark, limit that, you can go with the single home run, but when you start getting 2 or 3 guys on,
You don't need those.
You do not need those, and you do not need to get behind early. I think the Cubs have been able to get ahead early in games, and then, lately have just been able to hold on to that lead. But you see his pitch mix here, that splitter, sweeper, curveball, sinker. He has all of them working, and that deception with that fastball.
Do you see Shota leaning on that split piece as much? Because only one lefty in that Reds lineup tonight. We know how devastating that pitch is against lefties because lefty-lefty matchups, they're tough enough. But then when you throw in that split piece where the bottom drops out like a wet cardboard box, that makes it that much tougher.
Yeah, for sure. And he's one of those guys where I think lefty-lefty change-ups you wouldn't throw as much, but he has that split finger where it's more so it looks like a fastball, and then, like you said, the bottom drops out of it. So he can throw it to righties as well, and I think it's a good pitch for him to keep on that same plane because he has that deception with his motion.
These 2 games against Cincinnati Reds, how big are they? Because we know right now, looking up at those Milwaukee Brewers in the standings, and we said it yesterday, Pat Murphy and company, you may want to call them oceanic. They're not stopping at any point in this season, at least so far.
No, they're not slowing down. And this is huge because this is wild card too. I mean, the Reds are not out of it by any means. I know they're far back in the division, but that's only because Milwaukee keeps on winning. Yes. So, and you take a look at it, and we talked about it yesterday, is the ability to play good against teams in your division because you're coming up in the middle of this month and you got 5 games against Milwaukee. So you don't want to get too far back because when you have those games head to head, it's one of those things you don't want to be in a situation where you need to win all 5 games, and that's not that is tough to do with Milwaukee's starting pitching.
Absolutely, and you have the Toronto Blue Jays thrown in the mix right there. They're one of the top teams in all Major League Baseball, and truth be told, the Pittsburgh Pirates, even though we've seen pieces come and go on that squad, even though they're 19 and a half games out, you know that you could bump up against Paul Skeens, and he's always going to be a tough customer.
And those are those teams down there with the Pirates and the Cardinals that are going to try to be spoilers too. They're going to go out there, they're still going to be playing hard, and they're going to try to ruin somebody else's ability to get into the playoffs.
We'll see. On the road and doubling tonight. Well, as our Circus Sports Illinois studios, it is Wrigley Field. We are Cubs Postgame Live. I'm Cole Wright. He's Ryan Sweeney. And Sween Dog, we saw it once again. Shota Imanaga, he was out there working, and then he was pulled out in the middle of the frame, and that's when things really went awry.
Yeah, he threw fantastic tonight. 6 1/3. You talk about 7 Ks, just really dominating with that split and that sweeper. And then Kit Ridge came in and just was unable to get a lot of outs. You saw him, he only threw a third of an inning. Just really trying to pick at that slider. And when he left it up, you see here Steer deposited into left field for that 3-run homer right out over the middle of the plate. Did not miss it. The first baseman had 4 RBIs on the night.
Yeah, taking a look at Spencer Steer, he was an absolute wrecking ball this evening. He was the one that got the Reds on the board initially 1-0, and then the 3-run pop that made it 4-1. And taking a look back at Shota Imanaga going 6 1/3, 92 pitches. That's the 4th highest output all season long from the throwing philosopher. He threw 101 pitches versus the Los Angeles Dodgers, but that was all the way back on April 22nd. Looking at the numbers right here, 6 1/3, scattered 3 hits, just 1 earned run peppered in there. But the one thing you have to love, 0 free passes, and 7 strikeouts. If you were at the controls, would you have left him in there and at least try to see if he can maneuver his way out of the frame?
I mean, for sure. As a competitor, you want to go in, right? And I think, like we said, Kittredge has been so good all year, but unfortunately was just unable to execute that fastball and his slider. He was throwing 97, 98 miles an hour, but guys were just spitting on it. You saw just good at-bats, but Shota, he continues to shine. I mean, that's one of those ones where it's kind of like that Matthew Boyd start the other day when he had the lead 3-0 going into the 7th inning, and then they end up losing 4-3. So a couple outings where the starters have gone deep into ball games, and just the bullpen's been unable to execute late in ball games as of late.
Yeah, we know the bullpen, as of late, they've had a propensity for giving up the long ball, and that's not exactly what you want to see, especially when the starters, they have been so good. That has been the issue. The starter gets pulled out, the bullpen, they can't help the fellas run through the tape. That combined with the lack of offense, and you've seen it, not a whole bunch of wins, is it?
Well, and don't forget about the leadoff walk, too. The bullpen's been coming in the leadoff walk, and then it's like a bloop and a blast, and a 3-run home run, and then that's all she wrote. And you see most home runs here are allowed by relief pitching since July 4th, 25.
Yeah, all these teams in a tailspin. The Yankees, they're trying to find their footing right now. The Rockies, they haven't been good all season long. The Orioles, we saw what happened in that series just over the last few days. So what do you think the prescription should be right now for this ailment? Because you take a look at this team, they were so good 60 games ago, and right now it's been the Milwaukee Brewers. All they've been able to do over the last 60 is rattle off wins.
Well, I think when you get in that situation, too, where early on in the season, bullpen arms were fresh, right? And guys were dominating. Now you're getting to that point where guys are being used quite a bit. You go in there. That's why I think a lot of times we look at it and we're like, hey, man, we should have left the starter in just a little bit longer. But, I mean, hindsight's 20/20. If you look and the bullpen guy come in and get the job done, then we're not talking about this right now. But you take a look at the NL Central standings. The Brewers won again tonight, 7-2 against the Braves. So you take a look at it, and Cubs are back 4 now, blink of an eye.
Yeah, a 4-game deficit, not exactly how you would like to draw that one up. We told you over the last 60, Milwaukee 44-16, the Cubs 33-27. That's an 11-game difference. If you go all the way back to June 17th, the Cubs, they had a commanding 6.5-game lead in the Central. And Jay, well, I somewhat feel him right now, but it's not quite that time. It is a time to panic on the Cubs. No, Jay, not necessarily. Back yourself away from that ledge as it currently stands. But in the meantime, taking a look at the guys who fail to go above that 100-pitch threshold. If you want to be a team that makes some noise in the postseason, you have to have those guys that go deep and chew up.
Yeah, I mean, it's the game that we're in these days, right? I mean, you see guys not making it to 100 pitches, but as a competitor, I think as a starting pitcher, you want to get to that point. I think it's trying to keep guys fresh. But unfortunately, I think when we look at that from an outsider looking in, it's like, hey, I want these guys to go deep into ball games, and I want them to try to get the W. In a perfect world, yeah, we'd like to come to our 8th inning guy and then have Palencia throw the 9th, but unfortunately that's just not how it's panned out over the last couple of weeks. But we can't put it all in the bullpen either. I think it's been the lack of offense, the not hitting with runners in scoring position, and it's just one of those times where you're in a little bit of a lull as a team right now, and it's pretty frustrating.
Checkered outings from the guys in the arm barn, that has led to a dip in the Cubs production as of late. Hope.
Yeah, I mean, Shota pitched an excellent game. I thought he was kind of like what we've seen before, seen a lot of. Just pitched a great game. Yeah, velocity was really good tonight. Command of the split was really good tonight. Did a nice job.
What stood out about Kittredge?
Yeah, I mean, I think the stuff was really good. I mean, we saw like some big velocity numbers that kind of wasn't expecting. He just pulled he was pulling the sinker a little bit, kind of away from the right-handers. Kind of got the walk essentially to Hayes, and then just left some balls over the middle, over too much of the plate.
Craig, what did you see from their guy, Littell?
Yeah, I mean, it was a good split finger for sure, and used that, pitched well, and then the slider gave us some problems too. But he's got a very good split finger and very confident in its usage for like throwing for a strike and throwing it below the zone. And I thought he did a nice job with the slider as well.
The whole offense is slumping like this. Is it possible guys are pressing, trying to make things happen?
Well, look, I mean, the name of the game is to square the ball up and get on base and create rallies. And you got to do it in all sorts of situations and all times of the year, and we're just in a little rut right now where we're not doing it. This is a very good offensive baseball team. It will happen. You never enjoy going through stretches like this. I think you can always, when you're slumping, you kind of feel like you're pressing because you're not getting any good results. We're just got some guys not in great places swinging the bat right now. We'll get them there.
Any clarity on Sroka?
Yeah, so it's a low to mid-grade shoulder strain. Basically anticipate on shutting him down for 7 to 10 days and then kind of reevaluating where we're at. So all in all, not terrible news. I think we'll have a pretty good idea of what's going on in a week, and kind of go from there.
毎週登板後にピッチングコーチたちと本当にもう前の登板を詳しく反省したり、すごい密になって話し込んでるので、その成果がまたこのピッチングで表せてよかったなと思います。
Yeah, I think after every outing, I talk to all the pitching coaches and talk about what I reflect on from my past outing, what I need to work on, and I think all that hard work is paying off.
How important do you feel like your sweeper was tonight, and especially with how effective it was?
今日スイーパーはすごい効果的だったんですけど、どれほど大事だったと思いますか？
いろんな球種を操らなければ自分はここでは生き残れない投手だと思っているので、100マイル投げられるわけじゃないですし、とんでもない変化球があるわけでもないので、いろんな球種をいろんなコースに投げ分ける。そして今日はマグワイアがすごく僕の発想にないリードをしてくれたので、彼のおかげですごいいいピッチングできました。
Yeah, so I think I'm not a pitcher who can throw 100 miles an hour. I don't have crazy off-speed pitches. I think for me, I just need to command a lot of different pitches and locate where I want to locate. And I think for tonight, Reese called a fantastic game. I think he thought out of the box and thought about situations that I didn't even think about. So shout out to him too.
Did you want to keep going?
ピッチングは続けたかったですか？
自分自身ちょっと今日球数を把握してなかったので、もう90何球投げてるんだっていうのが変わった瞬間に気づいたので、そんな感覚だったんで、カンセルス監督が出てきた以上は僕は監督の判断に全て任せるので、特に投げたかったとかそういう感情はないです。監督が出てきた瞬間にもう交代だと思いました。
Yeah, not necessarily. I didn't really look at my pitch count until counsel came up, and so at the end of the day, if counsel wants to switch pitchers, then I trust his decision.
Did you get any tips from Matthew Boyd on that pickoff move?
ボイドから牽制について何かアドバイスとかもらいましたか？
ボイドはすごく、いろんな練習を熱心にやる選手で、牽制の練習も彼は前キャッチボール終わり、前ブルペン終わりに彼はやっていて、そういう姿勢を見て僕もちょうど昨日かなあなたみたいに牽制何個もアウトにしたいなっていうふうに言ってたんで、今日それが実現できてよかったです。
Yeah, so with Boyd, I watch him after basically every catch play, after a bullpen. He's always out there, practicing his pickoff move. So I told him yesterday, like, I want to be like you, and so I'm glad I was able to do that in the game today.
As a team, you guys are in a little bit of a rough stretch. The Brewers have gone ahead of you. What do you think it's going to take to kind of come together and kind of try and chase down Milwaukee?
今チーム全体として苦戦してるって思いますけど、ブルワーズも何ゲーム差がありますけど、ブルワーズに、勝率が、勝ち越せるためには何が必要だと思いますか？
長いシーズンなので、こうやって時にはゲーム差がついてしまう時もあるんですけど、結果的に最後どうなってるかが重要なので、 こをしっかり丁寧に戦って、そしたら気づいたら後半いい勝負をしてると思うんで、何か特別なことをしようとしても急にゲーム差が縮まるわけじゃないと思うんで、明日以降の一試合一試合を丁寧に戦っていくことが大事だと思いますね。
Yeah, I mean, it's a long season. I think, at times, there are going to be, a couple games out. But I think really you can't do anything special to just all of a sudden shorten that difference. So I think what's important is, taking it a game at a time. And the most important thing is what happens at the end. So I think you just need to, continue to try your best and do your best.
Well, I'm going on a limb here, but